The longtime voice of the Capitals, John Walton, joins us right now. Good afternoon, John. How are you? I've been told by Vic that when the locker room found out, it was like a morgue.
Yeah, fellas, it was. And, 15 years of doing this, and I go back even further with John Carlson and that, because when he started in Hershey, I was still there. So organizationally, this is the first time today since May of 2009 that John Carlson hasn't been in the same organization as me. So it's a lot to process. It is a hockey decision and a business first and foremost, and I don't think there's any questioning the hockey decision. The Caps got a first-rounder in return for an expiring contract, an asset that, in Johnny now, who's 36 and can still play, but they've been talking about contract and hadn't quite gotten there from what it sounds like. And now, as you look at the future here, you can look at the hockey side of it and you can look at the human side of it. And the hockey side of it is pretty good. The human side sucks. There's just no other way to put it. And for a guy that, when Alex Ovechkin says, it's the saddest day of his career. The Caps put up on social here shortly. It may be up for all I know. Of Ovi's presser. He was at the podium here just a short time ago. I'm telling you guys, it's the saddest I've ever seen him. And I've been around him for a decade and a half. And I've never seen him. I've never seen Tom Wilson was on the verge of tears. Dylan Strome is shaken up. This is seismic in the reaction. But I think, the world goes on. You got to be Boston tomorrow. And the guys, I think they're going to be sad today. Tom Wilson said, look, we're going to cry today, and we're going to go out and we got to beat the Boston Bruins tomorrow. And that's the name of it.
I think you look at Ovi, like all the people that he's been doing this running with, John might be the one with the longest tenure, right?
Yeah, it's funny. BMitch, I was thinking about that on the drive to the rink this morning. Who would have been longer, if it's Nicky or if it's John? And given all of Nicky's ailments at the end and not playing and then coming back and playing, I'm pretty sure it's John. And for all of the march to 895 and, thinking about the goal and John being on the ice for it and setting up so many one-timers to get him there, as many as, Mike Green was a big piece of that too, but Johnny did it longer, and Johnny's got the numbers to back it up. He has the most goals, most assists, most points, most games played of any defenseman in Caps history, and there have been a lot of really good ones in 51 years with this team. Rod Langway's in the Hall of Fame. You've got a list of guys that, this organization has been blessed with a number of unbelievables. He's the best. He's number one. He is, without question, the best defenseman in Capitals history for longevity, for stats. He was the one who won the Cup. He was the number one defenseman on the team that won the Cup. And that, to me, is enough just to make that statement. But he's got it all to back it up on the resume, and we're going to miss him.
Watching him play, to me, the best thing about his style of play was that you knew if he was on the ice and out there that he was going to do his job, whatever that was, on a particular play. If they're on the power play and they're trying to clear the puck, he's going to keep it in. If it's the other way around, he's going to clear it. If he's due to take out his man on a rush, he's going to squish him against the boards. The most dependable, solid, okay, it's all right. We got Carlson back there. He's got it handled. What did you appreciate the most about him as a Cap?
Yeah, I think that speaks to a larger point that it wasn't just 5-on-5. He was power play with Ovi. He would penalty kill. We were talking here this morning about thinking back to 2 years ago. The Caps had a pretty good time of it last year and having the best record in the Eastern Conference. The year before, they got in the playoffs, but they had to do it by willing themselves in after the trade deadline, and a couple of guys go out and they end up getting it with 3 minutes to go in the last game of the season to squeak into the playoffs. And John Carlson played the most minutes of any season in his career, led the NHL in time on ice, and basically willing this team into the postseason in Spencer Carberry's first year behind the bench. And I think that speaks to his character, his willingness to do pretty much whatever it took to win games. We can look at 2018 and scoring in the finals and all of that. his place in my mind, guys, he's a Hall of Famer, and I think he will be. You have not just the Stanley Cup, but the golden goal that he scored in World Juniors in 2010. Truly one of the best American-born defensemen of all time in terms of statistics. You know, Phil Housley was here for a time, and he is the number one guy on the all-time points list for U.S.-born guys. John Carlson's not far behind him, and the top three U.S.-born D-men in terms of scoring, they're all in the Hall of Fame. And I think with John, with a couple of more years, whether it be in Anaheim or whether it be elsewhere, he's going to add to his total. And I think we're going to look back. Nobody's ever wearing number 74 again for the Capitals, ever. It's never going to happen. Yeah. I think it's going to be in the Raptors alongside 8 and 19 and, you know, at some point 12 and 37 too. We got some numbers to get in the Raptors here around us. But, I mean, I think when you look at all those guys, John is every bit as worthy, every bit as much a unicorn as anybody who's ever worn the uniform. And, you know, I think that's what makes this day so tough is that he's always been here. It seems like, I mean, only Alex had been here longer. And, you know, for a guy like Tom Wilson, for as long as he's been here, he's never had a day in his Capitals career that John wasn't here. So for him, it's tough.
Is there any chance that he can be back with the Caps next year?
There is. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, you know, Anaheim has, I think, a lot of plans for him. I think they want him to stay. You don't give up a first rounder for a rental. I think they have a great young D-core there. They've got a good young team. They're coming. They're kind of like where the Caps were, quite honestly, around 2010, 2011, somewhere in there before they really started, you know, being the number one team in the league. They're not quite there yet, but boy, they're getting there. Maybe 08 would be a better comparison. But in any case, they've got a great young goalie. They've got a great young core down the middle. They've got a good D-core of which he's going to be able to impart a whole lot of wisdom. They want to keep him. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Doesn't mean that he may say, look, I want to come back, and you know, maybe they find a way to work it out. Could very well. But we'll see. We'll see when we get to summertime. Right now, he's an Anaheim Duck, and they want him playing this weekend. And, man, that's a picture I'm not quite sure I'm ready to see yet. It's him in a different uniform, but we're going to see it sometime before the weekend's over, and it's going to be a little jarring.
You guys know what a gumar is, right? A mafia girlfriend.
Okay.
Your gumar, you know, your side piece. The white, you don't talk about her, you don't take her out in public, but it's like she's there. I believe in gumar teams as a fan that you quietly root for, and you just don't talk about it. I now have a gumar in the Ducks because I want John Walton, I want Carlson to just thrive. I want him to have the 3 months of his life out there with him. Is that wrong of me to be
no
to have that as my gumar team in the West? Because you don't have to worry about it if the Caps make the playoffs of it impacting you immediately because they're out there in the West. Perfect gumar team, and I want it for him.
Yeah, I think I feel that. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, it helps that it's a Western Conference team that's relatively inoffensive, right?
I was going to say, like, you know, you can't have a Gumar on the Flyers.
Yeah, and certainly not in the Metropolitan Division. No, I can't. That'd be a bridge too far. But in the West, a team that you know plays a lot of 10 o'clock Eastern starts, and certainly for Johnny, I think he's going to have a great time. He's got 4 kids that are of an age that Disneyland suddenly is very much front and center, just down the street from the arena. So I would like to think that in the short term, I mean, his wife Gina is from Chevy Chase. I mean, he's as DC as it is. When his career's over, he's living here. There's no doubt he's a DC guy for life. But he's got another assignment for now, and I'm with you. If he goes out and thrives in Anaheim, the Ducks win, I'm going to be just fine with it.
When the shock wears off, I want to see stories and hear about how, Carlson's been amazing for them since they added him. You know, and here's what he means to them, and here's how he's been with the younger players. I definitely want all of that.
So, here. I'm all for it.
All right, so just as a exit question here, you look at the teams in DC, you've got a bunch of different projects kind of going on. The Wizards are about to exit a tank job, we hope, with a couple of veterans they traded for, and we hope a really good pick out of college. We know that the Nationals have rebooted their reset, and we're girding for that. It's going to be a while yet. And the Commanders are trying to triage a defense that was atrocious and get back to where they were. What do you think the Capitals are about to be doing here as a big picture?
Yeah, I think it's a lot closer than today might indicate, because here's what's going to happen in the short term. The Boston University Terrier season is going to end, probably sooner rather than later. And I would say the next day, you're going to have Cole Hudson here playing defense. And he is a tremendous young offensive talent. I think you're going to see him in a Caps uniform before the year's over. I think you may yet still see activity today. This is, if you think back to 3 years ago, the Capitals traded Hathaway and Orlov. They got a first from Boston, and they ended up flipping it to be able to bring in Rasmus Sandin. There may yet be something like that today, and if there's not, that's okay. Maybe it happens in July. But, they have the draft capital to be, and certainly the salary room to be able to make a lot of moves and do it pretty quickly. So I think you're going to see a very active 2026. If it's not before 3 o'clock today, I think you're going to see it in the summer. And I think the turnaround's going to be pretty quick. It's funny. I'm thinking as you're talking about the other teams, when TJ had his retirement this past summer, I was on he had a boat ride after, and Ryan Zimmerman was there. And I talked to him for a long time about the longevity of guys who come to D.C. and stay here. And I really thought about that today, because I think all things being equal, Johnny would have been perfectly fine staying here. Ryan certainly was through his Nationals tenure. And, there's just something about, there's a lot of guys. You have a world-class city that has a lot to offer. It's big, but it's the biggest small town in the world, I think. And guys love playing here. And guys love the culture that the Capitals have built. And I'm sure for the other teams mentioned, there's a lot that this city has to offer for anybody that, that comes in for those teams too. But the Caps have always, this is a tight room. Yeah. And, Alex is going to play every day of his career here. And it looked like until today, John was too. And Ryan Zimmerman did. And, I think Way too. And I mean, guys that, come here and stay here for the long, long, long haul. As I think that's who we are as a city. That's who we are as a town. And I love that. And, I think guys come from other places and want to be a part of that. So I think for the Caps, I'm better speaking on that than the other three, but I think there's a lot to offer here. And and BMitch, you certainly know that too.
I know because of all the flights you've taken. I know, Walton, you've seen the new Boys of 80 documentary on Netflix.
I haven't yet.
Wow.
I have not. But I'll file it in. I'll work it into the rotation.
Work it in, because I was told about it, and I said, I saw the Ross Greenberg one from HBO that was about 20 years ago, and it was so good. I'm like, why do I need to see another one? And then I saw it, and I was damn crying on the plane because it was so well done. And wait till you see Mike Eruzione's house and the family that he grew up with. And the way he described it, it'll blow you away.
Wow!
So that's a Easter egg for you.
I would love to do that. That's a great tip.
Yeah. All right. Very good. Well, look, it's the stuff of life, unfortunately, in sports. But
it happens.
Yeah, it happens, and we will go through the mourning process, and then bravely forge on after that.
Indeed, we will, fellas. Appreciate you having me to talk about it.
All right, Jay. Take care, brother.
There you go. Thank you, John Walton.
All right. We'll see ya.
Voice of the Capitals.